Welcome to Founders Feature, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Zach Young, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, we're joined by Laura Armstrong, a wealth mastery and money mindset mentor based in Toronto, Canada. Laura empowers high achievers to scale their wealth by helping them master money mindset, create aligned business visions, and break free from self-sabotage cycles. With a background as a 3-time world martial arts champion and experience training elite performers, she brings unique insights into personal development and business success strategies. Laura, a very, very warm welcome to Founders Feature.
Thanks so much for having me here today, Zach.
Absolutely going to be a great episode, a lot to dive into. Before we do, I do like to start with your background though. So before Wealth Mastery, becoming a coach, can you walk us through what were you doing previously and what was really your inspiration to get into this space?
Yeah, for sure. So, I've trained in martial arts for over 30 plus years. I have 3 world titles in full contact weapons fighting. I coached the Canadian team for decades. So I probably created 25 world champions. So I know what that formula looks like at a high level. And so part of that when I competed first is I became a holistic practitioner because if you know anything about professional athletes, they're always looking for the edge, right? Like what's going to get them, to where they want to go. And so when I became a holistic practitioner, that actually was my edge. It allowed me to connect my mind, body, soul, the woo-woo stuff, whatever you want to call it. Nowadays, it's more practical, but back then it was like I was out on cloud 9. People thought I was nuts, but then I started winning, right? So there was something different there that allowed me to connect with myself on a higher level. Now, I had had so much trauma as a young child and a young woman. I didn't discover this till my mid-40s. So let's put that on the shelf for a second. So I worked in corporate for several decades. I was a commodities trader. I was the only woman on the trading desk. When I was 42, I got packaged out. It was dirty. It was a very toxic environment. But sometimes it takes until you're not in that environment to realize how bad it was, right? And so they packaged me out. I took them to court and we settled. But, I'm 59 now, I was 42 then. I just decided I'm only doing things that make me happy. I mean, I'm going into the second of my half of my life back then, right? I'm only doing things that make me happy, help people, make me boatloads of money because I love money so much. I take a lot of flack for that. And what I realize is that most people don't have that relationship with money. It's very much a negative or not so positive for them. So it's about the bills, the debt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? It's on their mind all the time. And so one of the reasons I started being a money mindset and wealth mastery strategist is because I wanted to help people, especially at a high level, get out of that cycle, right? Now, the people that I work with at a higher level, money isn't necessarily their thing. They've made money. They know what it feels like. For them, it's like, what's next? And can I do it? And I can't do it because of blah, right? And so helping them get past whatever that is. And like I said, back to what happened to me when I was so young, I was able to get through and destroy those limiting beliefs from all the training that I had as a holistic practitioner. I'm certified in probably 10, 12 different modalities. So, I mean, I got lots in my back pocket to pull out, right? When I need to, and use it to get results, because results is all I care about. So that's kind of like a brief overall summary of what I do.
I love it. It's very clear with you. I'm curious, do you find with a lot of the people you work with, right, high achievers in business, do you find that they were also, a lot of them, high achievers in athletics growing up like yourself?
If it's not athletics, it's something else. And where the problem happens there is they don't know what to do after that achievement. Right. And so then there's one of 2 paths. They either go on the path where they keep moving or they go on this path where, like, if you think about a lot of famous sports people who have been high achieving in NFL, CFL, and, baseball, hockey, basketball, whatever it is. And you hear about them losing their fortunes, right? It's because they can't adjust to that high achieving lifestyle and keep that momentum going on a personal level, right? And so you need to transfer those skills you learned at such a high level to your life, not just to your job or your sport. And that's sometimes where they get in this loop of thinking they're trapped and like they lose everything and this is my life now, which isn't true, right? It's you just need to make a different choice. And it's taking the fear out of making that choice and actually having them step into the genius that got them there in the first place, right?
Absolutely. I'd love to take a second and ask about your trading career. Could you walk us through that a little bit? Just, what did you trade? How was that experience? I'm sure a crazy time.
It's funny because I started at that company fairly young and I started at the bottom. I started like as an assistant to like, I don't know, like the data entry person, right? Like I was like right at the bottom. So I probably was promoted through that company 8 or 9 times till I was on the trading desk doing international logistics and trading. Um, it was very much a boys' club, very much you don't do this or this will happen. There was nothing, nowadays, like one of the things that I do teach, I teach martial arts over the world, but more I'm focused on self-defense and empowerment. And I created something called the Empowerment Protocol for corporate and organizations for exactly what happened to me. I want to help change that culture. And so there was no like verbal strategies. There was no de-escalation. There was like, you do this or you lose your job, right? And so the thing I loved about working there is the learning, and I loved the fast pace of it. I loved so many things about that job. What I didn't love was the culture of how they treated people. And that came from the president down. He was just not a mentally, emotionally healthy person and was very verbally abusive to most of his employees. Yeah.
Jeez. I'm sorry about that. Let's dive into the present today. You
Yeah.
touched on it a little bit, but I'm just very curious. Can you walk us through, what does working with Laura look like? How do you work with your clients? How do you kind of structure your work with them? Everything like that.
Yeah, there's two types of clients I have. Like I work mostly with high achievers. I do work with some entrepreneurs and small business owners. This is in my wealth track. So I also have my empowerment protocol track. That's a bit different. In empowerment protocol track, I work mostly with leadership teams and employees for psychological safety, right? Whether that's, verbal strategies, trauma-informed training, de-escalation, gender-based violence, whatever that is. A lot of people know what those words sound like, but they don't really know what they mean, and they certainly don't know how to train them. Now, I'm not saying everybody's like that, but the buzzword is the buzzword right now, right? The wealth strategy, I do work with mostly high achievers, but I also work in sometimes I do work with entrepreneurs and small business owners. Those are two very different types of people to work with. So let me explain. The entrepreneur and the small business owner is looking to make money. They are looking to succeed. They're looking to take some pressure off financially, and they dream about wealth. And so they don't know if the dream is possible. For them, there are 3 things I work on. The first is their limiting beliefs, because that's like the 911 that's holding them up. I'm telling you, every single time, it's the same thing. The next is their vision alignment. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing? Or are they just throwing spaghetti at the wall, just trying to make money at something, right? And the third piece is, so I said vision alignment, and then also having a plan, right? So that they have some business structure so that they can scale when they're ready, but actually use structure to create their business. Because for a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners at the beginning, it's all on them to do all the work, and it's overwhelming. It's a lot, right? And sometimes they just like feel like they're overwhelmed. They want to quit, So having that support there is absolutely key. So I think that that's very important. And the other part that I work on with them is their mindset, right? So what is their mindset about things? Is it a growth mindset? Are they willing to learn, or is it fixed, right? And so what does that look like for them? And so that's where I tap into all the different things that I know and I've learned and I've created my reality from, because all I care is getting them strategic results.
Yeah.
Now, high achievers are just a little bit of a different story. First of all, are never going to tell you there's anything wrong, because they've been there. They have been the best at what they do, at some point, or they still are. They are never going to admit there's a problem. The conversation with them is very different. So instead of like getting rid of their limiting beliefs and all that and talking about that stuff, it's more the conversation is, well, what's next for you? And then we can look at what that path looks like, because they're always living in the future. That's why they're high achievers.
Hmm. Very interesting. I'd love to ask about the limiting beliefs, especially for, the business owners, entrepreneurs.
Sure.
You got to start there. It makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, do a lot of blocks that they have, do you have to go back to childhood to unlock those blocks?
Most of the time, yeah.
That's just so fascinating to me that things that
Yeah.
happened when we were 5, 6 years old are possibly negatively affecting us when we're 30, 40 years old.
It's so interesting, Zach, because I get that when I work with my client. It goes back to, I see it all the time, right? Like, and they're like, oh no, it happened when I'm 20. I'm like, uh-huh. And then we start having the conversation. And so there are techniques I use. And I'm like, all right, like I have a 5-step process, right? And so once we start talking about, they're like, oh shit. I'm sorry, I swore on your thing. I hope that's
You're
okay.
good.
Like I think and then they'll say, oh, it was when I was 5. And I'm like, yeah, I already know. Right. Like, and so then what happened at 5? And they know because what you're doing is you're teaching them to access that reticulator activating system in your brain. So that is something all of us have. It's not magical. It's kind of like when I say to you, well, I'm thinking of buying a Honda CRV. What do you start seeing everywhere?
Honda
Right?
CRVs?
Right, exactly. So what you just did when you asked, when did it start or what happened, your brain, it's in there, it's doing its best to bring it to your awareness, right? And so it's there, right? And so that having them access that allows them to let go. It brings up the charge, we clear it, there's certain things that I do, and then that doesn't really have a charge for them anymore. And that reflects in the rest of their life when it's repeated that cycle over and over again. The cycle's just not there anymore, right?
Mm,
So it's
mm.
pretty crazy. Yeah.
So interesting that happens. I mean, that's some deep work right there. Most
Yeah.
people won't do that by themselves, right? They need someone
It's
like yourself to guide them through that process.
it's too hard, and like I have this cool story. So if we have a few minutes, I want to tell it.
Please.
It's the story of winning my first gold medal. And so I had been competing internationally for probably close to 10 years, and I'd only ever won silver, bronze, silver, bronze, silver, bronze. I just couldn't capture the gold. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? Right. Like, I mean, I did the whole Rocky thing. I watched my tapes. Like, I did the whole thing. Right. And so I qualify again for the Canadian team, and World Championships happen every 2 years. And it's in the Manila, Philippines. So if you know anything about professional athletes, it's a 9-month ramp up to compete for those 2 days. So your diet, your exercise, your training, your mindset, all of it has to be ready over those 9 months for those 2 days. So I qualified for the team. There's 12 of us on the Canadian team. We go over to the Philippines. We're in Manila, other side of the world. 2 things happen. First day of competition. Our coach steals our money. Okay. Secondly, he leaves. He's like, I'm not coaching you guys anymore. And I'm like, what the, right? And so I gather everybody, because of course I was the troublemaker. I gather all of us up. I'm like, what are we going to do here? Are we going to DQ, which would be disqualify? We don't compete. We just go home. Nothing happens. Or are we all going to go home with gold? Because I didn't come this far for nothing, right? So they're like, they all light up. They're like, we're going to go home with gold. I'm like, great. So we all go out to our respective fights. So I'll give you some context. A fight is 3 rounds. It's 1 minute each, and you are full out for that entire round, right? So I get to the end of the day. I'm in the gold medal round. I probably had about 25 fights. I'm exhausted. And so the round starts. The first 2 rounds are good. Like they're pretty even. I mean, I may have had an edge, but it's hard to tell with the scoring. The third round comes, and you have a little break between each round, 30 seconds, like not very much. And I have this moment where I look across the ring, and there is my team. And they're like, Laura, you got this. Like they're jumping off the floor. They're cheering for me. And I look at them, and I remember this smile I had on my face. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go for it. And so the whistle blows and the round starts. And I remember thinking just before the whistle blows, I'm like, God, I'm exhausted. I can barely lift my arm. But what I realized very quickly when the round starts is that my opponent is more tired than I am, right? So I don't know what happened. I must have pulled all the energy from my team for this last minute of my life in this round and went through the round. And I'm pretty sure I took the round. It was a good fight. I just beat them up. Like they had nothing left, right? So the whistle blows and the ref collects the scores, and he takes both of our hands and he raises my hand and he goes, world champion, gold medal winner. And there's this moment of disbelief because you cannot believe after 10 years this just happened. I finally did it, right? And then I'm like, oh my God, like I did it. And I look across the ring and there is my team and they're cheering for me and they're crying and like I'm crying, everybody's crying, right? Like and it's just this moment like where you realize, and that was the missing piece. If you don't have that support to carry you and support you, it's too hard to do it on your own, right?
Mm.
8 of us out of 12 went home with gold medals that day because of those circumstances. And so I would say to all your viewers, get the support you need because it's too hard on your own. And there are the right people out there. Someone needs what you have, right? And so make sure that, 100%, it's all about the support because without that, I could have just been earning silvers and bronzes the rest of my life.
Mm. Very powerful. Great story. Thank you for sharing that, Laura.
You got it.
Absolutely. I'm curious, look into the back end of the business for a second. How are the individuals you're working with currently finding you to work with you?
Yeah, so I do a lot of one-on-one calls because I do mostly high ticket, right? So that requires a call because not everybody is my perfect customer and I'm not their perfect person either. And so we want to make sure that on both ends it's a good fit. So most of them, I give them my wealth strategy with Laura link and they book an hour with me on there and we go through the process. But what it comes down to, Zach, is I only care about getting them results. If I'm their person, then yes, let's go for it. If I'm not, then it's okay too. I can always recommend someone else, but in the end, I just want the best for everybody. That's all I care about. And the key to being successful, one of the biggest things is not to be attached to the results of things.
Hmm. Tough to do. Not
Hard to
easy.
do. Takes practice. Yeah.
Absolutely. Quite the journey you've been on through so far. I am curious about the next couple years. Are there any goals you've set for yourself in the business you're looking to achieve?
Yeah, I will hit 1M this coming year. That's my goal. And then I got some initiatives with the self-defense and empowerment in professional sports, but also grassroots programs that that are involved with Indigenous, BIPOC, LGBTQ2S plus communities, all that kind of thing. So those are kind of things that were, I would say, hobbies, but are no longer hobbies because it's gaining so much traction through the US, Canada, and Africa. And so
Mm.
my goals there are to expand on that. My specialty is creating instructors. I create leaders. That's what I do. I can teach this stuff all day long, but I really want to create a legacy of leaders that where this kind of gains its own steam. And then I'll move on to whatever the next thing is. And I'm always open to that possibility. But the
Mm.
wealth mastery business, I have more work to do there for people. Yeah.
Very nice. Love the impact. Laura, where can the listeners find you? Where can they connect with you online?
Yeah, for sure. You can check me out on LinkedIn, but you can also book time with me at wealthstrategywithlaura.com. I'm happy to set up a call with you, hear more about you, and see how we can work together.
Love it. Laura, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And that will wrap up another inspiring episode of the Founders Feature. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to go and connect with Laura on her LinkedIn, at Laura Armstrong. All those links and her website will be in the show notes and description down below. Go book a call. She clearly knows what she's doing. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're looking to scale your business, and you really want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with our team and discover how we went from 0 to 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on climbing.